Okay, so this could be part two. The reconciliation is the process of healing the split. The split when God divided into two different polarities. In greater detail is what we experience as masculine and feminine aspects in our story of heaven shattered. We use the terms of the splitting of God into two polarities in the Godhead as God and the Goddess. In the dense, harsh, multidimensional reality as the Emperor and the Empress. And a little further down, and in the third dimension, also known as our lifetimes on Earth, we meet up with the Holy Spirit and Mother Nature. Kind of Catholic and pagan names. Most people now will understand that the Catholic Church is actually a continuation of pagan beliefs. That's one of the reasons why the split of the Christian faiths. There's nothing wrong with any of this. The Catholic Church, through the Holy Mother and stuff like that, wanted to maintain the feminine aspect, and many wanted to keep the masculine. We're back to the polarity issues again. The reconciliation process involves both parties, male and female, coming together in a symbolic act representing their wish to heal the split, or in human terms, reconciling their differences after a separation or divorce between our mother and father. In our physical world, when a man and a woman come together in the act of love, reconciliation, hopefully a child is the outcome, which is an expression of their love, acknowledging the coming together as one. So the child is representing the one. We're back to the one. When God and the Goddess, as the earthly mother and father in the harsh realm, came together in this coupling and creating what we call a reconciliation baby. The plan of having a reconciliation baby would be that the child was in perfect energetic balance to help initiate healing the split by reuniting God's two halves in perfect harmony. Again, we talk about this, but we're still stuck in this realm with the two polarities, the push and the pull, the movement, and someone has to go first. Now we're finding that the feminine wants to go first and is willing to sacrifice the masculine at all cost to go first. So we're back to what came first, the chicken or the egg. At some level, we are all, in a sense, reconciliation babies, with each of us containing equal aspects of our mother and father. As we have already discussed, in essence, every time we have children together, we are, in effect, trying to heal the split and show God and the Goddess, in our own way, the love for the one. Through learning to love our children, whether it be a boy or a girl, without prejudice, we are showing God. We are teaching God. We are the self-actualization of God. The Dark Ones are presently spoiling this learning process by tricking people into believing that there are no genders. They promote this stilted reality, taking advantage of humans' need to be an exception to all of God's rules. And why? To stop the split from being healed. Or in other words, they are tricking people into picking a side. Some go to the mother and some go to the father. Well, as you see, the ones that go to the mother are of chaos, and the ones that go with the father are of order. As we have said, Jesus is the most notable reconciliation baby to date, manifested through the Immaculate Conception. doesn't matter whether it was real or what. People get hung up on all this bullshit. The true answer is Jesus as a reconciliation baby planted deep into the subconscious of the third dimensional humans floating around here, the lesson of forgiveness. The lesson of forgiveness. Now, I'll mention a couple of other reconciliation babies. Akhenaten, the Egyptian pharaoh, planted the seed of, before Jesus was born, planted the seed of a new monolithic religion that believed in the one God instead of the many. So you can see every 1,000 years or so, we go through these reconciliation babies, and they plant seeds of information and belief structure. They're trying to send us a message through the nightmare. Another reconciliation baby is King Arthur. The King Arthur story plants the seed of chivalry, a system with its moral and social code that includes courage, honor, and courtesy, justice, and a readiness to help the weak. And when we say the weak, which is what chivalry is all about, helping the weak, it's got an emphasis this time with this reconciliation baby of courtesy to women. This is where we see the reconciliation baby. So we see, I've mentioned one Akhenaten, which is the one God. I mentioned Jesus, which is forgiveness of the past. He's trying to show us that we're being forgiven for the fall. And then we've got the King Arthur, which is chivalry, which is to help women to understand that we're not attacking women with the push for movement. It's chivalry. It's at the very corner of our great Western society of today. The Dark Ones want you to believe that Arthur and Jesus, for instance, their stories are mainly composed of folklore and literary invention. You see, as time goes on, we start to question whether or not they existed, because as time goes on, the evidence gets buried and destroyed and rewritten. Historical experts, for instance, we see as authority figures are Dark Ones. Now, it's like you can't be educated with, you can't be spiritually enlightened if you're burdened down by brainwashing in the universities. They brainwash them. And then they have, they're motivated to keeping the brainwashing in place. They don't want to lose their jobs, their money, their tenure, all of that. It all becomes, it's all lies. Always be aware of these so-called experts. They're nothing more than agents of the Dark Ones. So hopefully you can see through these few examples, these attempts at a reconciliation. Some would say they didn't necessarily succeed to reunite our godly parents in the third dimension, but they didn't fail either. Jesus, for example, has left a lasting impact on society that has lasted 2,000 years. Arthur has men in the Western culture, Western society, accepting their role with women as their partners through chivalry, through treating women correctly. Only now are the Dark Ones beginning to move people with some new dramatic beliefs. Let's say as they're beginning to understand Akhenaten's message of the one God. Where do we go? So it's all about bringing more balance, helping the feminine to understand that it's not lesser than the masculine, and there's no need for the feminine to become masculine to prove itself. Women do not. We don't need more men in the workplace. at the top. It's like, who would you rather go to? A male doctor who who uses logic and doesn't really care and doesn't feel for the patient, or do you want a female doctor who understands and thinks and feels what the patient may be going through? There's a level of understanding of the pain and suffering of the patient. Sometimes you need that logic, maybe as a surgeon, but as a GP, females, I feel personally, make better doctors because they listen, they communicate more. May not need that with a surgeon. So everyone has a place in the system. No one should be left out. So with each attempt at a reconciliation, spiritual seekers who have been looking, have been building their awareness to enlightenment faster than the Dark Ones can control. I would expect if there is to be another attempt at reconciliation, God will try something different by choosing maybe a female. Here on Earth, we can energetically, we can learn from watching the magnetic pole shifting taking place, flipping from the masculine energy to the first push to the feminine making the first push. This back and forth kind of thing, this flipping on its axis. Sometimes humans need to see these very dramatic physical experiences to understand. So, me personally, I think if there is another reconciliation baby and it's coming soon, it would possibly be a girl baby. From my perspective, I don't believe there will be a reconciliation baby girl or a boy created by our mother and father. I believe the Dark Ones have the technology and are making plans to clone a human they have genetically manufactured. They are reaching the level of God. They're wiping out God and they're creating themselves as God. So, this is all taking place at the exact same time I believe that God's masculine aspect is making plans, preparing to leave this harsh realm forever. So what does this mean for the ones left behind? There's then a need for this reality to create a whole new system. And that's what I think is taking place. I think we're watching as the Dark Ones, as God spelt with a small g, become gods in their own realm here, creating new genders, new energy types, searching very dramatically for a new system before God pulls out. When God pulls out and all order is taken with it, everything is going to just go into chaos. So that's why it appears that there are so many different energetically altered humans involved on Earth. The binary system will no longer work. The Dark Ones have managed to mix many different energy dynamics into the pot, and it appears humans are not, there's going to be no more reconciliation take place. There'll be no more attempts to bring balance. So in short, I guess I could say that we as their children have been working on these issues for a very long time, lifetime after lifetime. As the divorce rate in the harsh realm increases, we, the children of God, are working out all the different possible scenarios, issues, and solutions with our mommy and daddy divorcing. The Dark Ones are the ones choosing the feminine, the light are the ones choosing the Father. That's basically what it is. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's just the way it is. And the spiritual ones, so I'll try to explain. So the dark ones, we call the dark ones, are following the feminine. The light ones are following God. The spiritual ones are following neither. We're not taking a side. And that's what makes us unique. We're not taking a side. We're not becoming religious. Now, the ones that are taking God's side think that they're right, just as the dark ones taking the feminine think they're right. But what they're doing is they're just picking one parent over the other. And some of us, the spiritual ones, have chosen not to pick either, and have chosen to leave. And when we leave, these two factions will be fighting it out forever. It will be like a hell on earth. Anyways, we'll work on some new issues the next episode. I hope this one has not been too confusing. It is a very confusing topic, and I look forward to hearing your receiving some of your questions. So until the next time, have a great week.